Have you ever noticed your cat fixing its gaze upon an empty corner of the house as though it were watching something your own eyes cannot perceive? Have you seen it become suddenly alert, restless, or strangely protective, as if it were standing guard against an unseen presence? Today I wish to speak to you about something that many dismiss too quickly, yet which carries a mystery that touches both the home and the soul. It is something linked to cats, to their silent companionship, and to a spiritual intuition that Padre Pio, with his deep sensitivity to the invisible world, was said to have perceived in them. My dear brothers and sisters in Christ, what we are about to consider is not a trivial matter. It concerns a hidden tenderness of providence, a mysterious form of protection, and a reality that may change the way you look upon the little creature who walks quietly through your home. If you have a cat, do not think it came into your life by mere accident. If one day a cat crossed your path and remained, perhaps heaven permitted something greater than simple companionship. And if you do not yet have one, perhaps what you are about to hear will make you ponder more deeply the ways in which God allows help, consolation, and even warning to enter our lives through humble means. Before going further, I ask you to keep your heart recollected and attentive. If this reflection speaks to you, support this mission, remain with it until the end, and share it with those who may also need to see their home, their suffering, and their daily life with new spiritual eyes. If you live with a cat, you may even wish to whisper its name before God and say within yourself, perhaps this little creature was allowed to come to me for a reason I have not fully understood. What follows may shed light on many things that have puzzled you, especially if you have witnessed in your cat certain behaviors that seem too strange, too timely, or too meaningful to dismiss. Padre Pio had a profound tenderness toward God's creatures. Like the saints who lived close to the earth and close to heaven, he did not see animals as mere ornaments of creation, but as living signs of the wisdom, goodness, and hidden order of the Creator. Yet among these creatures there seemed to be something particularly striking in the way he regarded cats. Those who observed him during his years in San Giovanni Rotondo recounted that the cats around the monastery often drew near to him with an unusual confidence, as though they sensed in him a soul deeply united to God. There was said to be, in particular, a grey cat that appeared near his cell during moments of intense spiritual trial, as though it came silently at the threshold of suffering and combat. The friars noticed that this feline presence often preceded significant moments, especially during times when Padre Pio endured interior battles, temptations, or afflictions that others could not fully grasp. It was as though the animal, in its own hidden way, perceived what ordinary eyes could not see. Padre Pio often reminded souls that animals are creatures of God and in their own manner reflect his glory. But he also seemed to recognize that cats possessed a particular sensitivity, an ability to detect what hovers at the edge between the visible and the invisible. He observed them with seriousness, not superstition. He watched, he discerned, and he noted patterns that returned again and again. In his reflections and in the memories attributed to those who knew him, cats were not spoken of merely as domestic companions, but as creatures capable of sensing spiritual presences and guarding places in silence. It was said that Padre Pio noticed how a cat would sometimes approach a person who was ill, burdened, or inwardly distressed, and that such a visit often preceded relief, peace, or improvement. He did not reduce this to coincidence. Rather, he saw in these repeated occurrences a sign that animals, especially cats, may at times be permitted to assist souls in ways hidden from human reasoning. Their presence seemed to bring calm, as though they carried a kind of created stillness into rooms where fear, heaviness, or sorrow had settled. One story especially remained impressed upon those who heard it. A woman, gravely ill and weighed down in body and spirit, came seeking Padre Pio's blessing. Before she had even spoken, one of the monastery cats approached her, settled itself at her feet, and began to purr. Padre Pio, seeing this, is said to have smiled gently and indicated that a special grace was near. In the days that followed, the woman recovered in a way that left many deeply moved. Whether one considers this a sign, a consolation, or a mystery beyond explanation, the episode remained for those around him an image of how even the smallest of God's creatures may sometimes accompany the workings of divine mercy. Padre Pio also taught that the life of the soul is not lived in isolation from the environment around us. The home itself can be a place of peace or disturbance, prayer or distraction, blessing or heaviness. He observed that cats often rubbed themselves against walls, furniture, and doorways in a manner that seemed more than instinctive. He believed this action was not only physical, but in some hidden way part of a cleansing, as though the animal were helping to purify spaces burdened by negative influences. He spoke of cats as guardians of thresholds, standing watch where the unseen presses most closely upon the seen. This was not, in his understanding, a fanciful idea born of idle imagination, but something learned through years of quiet observation, prayer, and spiritual awareness. The saint noticed that cats behaved differently before serious spiritual events, and that their reactions often corresponded to moments of grace, trial, or invisible tension. Their stillness, their sudden vigilance, their way of occupying certain places in a home, all seemed to him to reveal a sensitivity that pointed beyond natural instinct alone, and perhaps one of the most surprising things he is said to have observed concerned the cat's purr. According to this spiritual insight, the purring of a cat was not only something soothing to the body, as even human experience and later scientific reflections have noted, but also something that touched the soul. Padre Pio likened it to a hidden vibration of peace, almost like a small and humble echo of continuous prayer, a murmur that seemed to soften the atmosphere of a room and bring it into greater harmony. He saw in it a kind of gentle ministry, not sacramental, of course, and not a substitute for grace, but a created instrument through which calm and healing could be permitted to flow. More astonishing still was the conviction that when a cat enters a home and chooses to remain there, it may not be doing so by mere chance. Padre Pio perceived that such creatures can be sent in ways known only to God to protect those who need protection, even when they do not know how much they need it. This may explain why some people feel that their life changed after a cat came into their home. A new peace, a quiet vigilance, a strange sense that they are no longer alone in moments of fear, illness, or interior unrest. For those who have seen such things, this thought may awaken both gratitude and reverence. According to these teachings attributed to Padre Pio, cats are not merely pets to be tolerated or indulged, but silent guardians whose mission often remains hidden beneath ordinary appearances. They seem to possess a unique ability to detect what weighs upon a place or a person. How often has a cat suddenly arched its back, bristled without visible cause, or stared fixedly at a point in space where nothing could be seen? Many laugh at such moments. Yet Padre Pio understood them differently. He believed that in such moments the cat may be perceiving and resisting spiritual forces that human senses cannot grasp. He spoke of certain signs that reveal when a cat is fulfilling this quiet role of protection. The first is when it chooses to sleep on your bed or very near you during the night. This, in his view, is not only an act of affection or a search for warmth. Night is a vulnerable time. The body rests, the mind loosens its grip, and the soul can feel more exposed to fear, agitation, and oppression. In choosing to remain beside you, The cat may be forming a kind of living watch, a silent shield against disturbances that move in darkness. There is tenderness in this, but also something solemn. A second sign appears when the cat spends much time by windows, near doors, or on thresholds. To a superficial eye, this seems only curiosity. But Padre Pio saw in such behavior a deeper vigilance. These are the points where the outer world meets the inner, where passage occurs, where influences enter. The cat standing guard there becomes, in this interpretation, a sentinel, not a master of divine things, not an independent spiritual force, but a humble creature placed where it is needed, standing in its own little way where the home must be watched over. A third sign can be seen when your cat follows you from room to room, especially when you are burdened, ill, or sorrowful. In those times it may not merely be seeking company. Padre Pio believed that cats are drawn to pain, not to feed upon it, but to absorb, soften, and help disperse some of the heaviness that surrounds it. There are moments when a soul is so tired that it cannot find words for prayer. Yet God, who knows our poverty, sometimes sends comfort in the form of a quiet presence. The cat that remains near during such times may be part of that small mercy. Padre Pio also believed that cats can sense the presence of angels and saints. Have you ever noticed your cat suddenly becoming attentive during prayer, staring into emptiness as though someone had entered, or settling near you when you kneel in silence before God? According to this understanding, the cat is not merely reacting at random. It may be perceiving the nearness of heavenly presences that accompany prayer and recollection. Such moments should not lead to fantasy, but to humility. For if even a simple creature can grow still before the sacred, how much more should we who possess reason and a soul redeemed by Christ learn to grow attentive before divine things? Even the color of the cat was thought by Padre Pio to hold spiritual meaning. Black cats, so often burdened by human superstition, were not seen by him as signs of darkness, but rather as especially strong guardians against negative forces. White cats were associated with peace, purity, and domestic harmony, as though they carried an atmosphere of quiet light. Tabby cats were regarded as particularly gifted in restoring balance and healing energies, while calico cats were thought to be especially blessed. Whether one receives these distinctions literally or contemplatively, the deeper message remains the same. No creature should be judged by human fear, and God can place hidden gifts where the world least expects them. There was also the remarkable observation that cats can anticipate important changes in the lives of those with whom they live. If a cat suddenly becomes more affectionate, more withdrawn, more watchful, or more insistent in its nearness, this may be more than a passing mood. Padre Pio saw such changes as possible signs that something significant was approaching, not always something terrible, sometimes grace, sometimes trial, sometimes a period in which the soul would need greater prayer, greater discernment, or greater protection. The cat, in such moments, becomes almost like a lamp lit before dawn, not causing the day, but announcing that it is drawing near. Most extraordinary of all was Padre Pio's sense that cats are bound in some way to our spiritual destiny. When a cat enters a home and remains, he believed it may be answering a divine permission, a mission quietly entrusted for the good of that household. Adoption, then, is not always only a human decision. At times, it may carry a hidden spiritual appointment. This is why he was said to assure souls that those who have cats in their homes often receive a particular kind of protection against spiritual attack. These animals become part of a providential design, a gentle but vigilant presence woven into daily life. If this reflection is speaking to your heart, do not keep it to yourself. There are many who have witnessed strange things in the behavior of their cats and did not know how to understand them. Share this message with someone who may need it. Remain attentive, because what comes next may help you recognize more clearly the signs your own feline companion is giving you, perhaps even now, without your having yet understood their meaning. The signs your cat gives are not small, nor should they be dismissed carelessly. Padre Pio believed that specific behaviors reveal active spiritual protection. For instance, if your cat meows insistently at night, especially between 3 and 4 in the morning, do not ignore it lightly. These hours have long been felt by many to be spiritually sensitive, a time when unrest, oppression, and unseen disturbances can become more acutely felt. Your cat's insistence may be a warning, a summons to vigilance, or even a silent plea that you rise interiorly and turn to prayer instead of remaining careless. When your cat assumes a sphinx-like posture, completely still and staring in one direction with intense concentration, Padre Pio interpreted this as a sign that it is engaged in a kind of silent, energetic cleansing. The animal appears motionless, but its stillness is active. It seems to be absorbing, confronting, and transforming something harmful in the atmosphere. Such moments invite us not into curiosity, but into recollection. A soul that notices this should perhaps make the sign of the cross, invoke the holy name of Jesus, and commend the home to divine protection. There are other behaviors, equally humble yet equally meaningful, that Padre Pio urged people to notice with greater reverence. When your cat rubs against your legs as soon as you return home, it may be doing more than greeting you. According to this spiritual reading, it is helping to cleanse your field of the burdens, tensions, and dark impressions you have gathered throughout the day. We go out into the world and we carry back many things we do not see: anxieties, irritations, discouragements, confusions. The cat that comes close at that moment may be helping, in its own creaturely way, to remove some of that heaviness before it settles in the home. If your cat begins sleeping in places where it never used to rest before, especially in corners, passageways, or portions of the house that feel strangely heavy, this too may not be accidental. Padre Pio believed that cats sometimes move deliberately into such spaces because they are working there, balancing what is out of order, quieting what is disturbed, guarding what is vulnerable. The cat chooses the place and remains there in silence. While those in the house often fail to understand that something is being tended, when a cat lies upon your chest or settles near a part of the body that is unwell, this was understood by Padre Pio as another sign of hidden assistance. He believed the animal senses imbalances that escape our own awareness and responds to them. The warmth, the pressure, the vibration, and the peaceful stillness of its presence may be part of a mysterious form of support. Again, this is not to replace medicine, prayer, confession, or the sacraments. Nothing takes the place of grace. Yet it is not against the ways of God to allow even a small creature to bring consolation, relief, or a measure of healing to the afflicted. Padre Pio also reflected on the spiritual quality of a cat's purring. These vibrations, he believed, do not touch only the nerves and the body. They may also work upon the soul, softening agitation, restoring harmony, and gently helping to reorder what interior unrest has disfigured. When a cat purrs near you, it may be engaged in a kind of hidden ministry of peace. There is something almost prayerful in such moments, something that invites the heart to become still, to breathe more slowly, and to rest in God rather than in fear. And if your cat has ever stared deeply into your eyes, do not dismiss it as an ordinary gesture. Padre Pio believed that in such moments the animal is reading something of your interior condition. It is as though your companion were assessing your state, perceiving your fatigue, your sadness, your fear, or your imbalance, and responding according to the grace given to it. This gaze is not empty. It can be searching, tender, and strangely penetrating. There are times when a human soul feels seen by no one, yet through a creature's eyes it receives a silent acknowledgement that it is not abandoned. If your cat has recently become more protective, more watchful, or more attached to you than before, consider whether this may correspond to a time in your life when you need greater spiritual defense. Padre Pio taught that when a cat comes into one's life during difficult seasons, it should not be regarded as mere coincidence. It may be an answer to prayer, even prayer never consciously formulated. Sometimes the soul cries out without words. God hears those cries, and his response is not always dramatic. At times, it is quiet, daily, almost hidden beneath routine. Yet, it is no less merciful for being humble. To strengthen this spiritual bond with the cat entrusted to your home, Padre Pio is said to have recommended certain simple practices full of reverence and gratitude. Upon rising in the morning, make the sign of the cross over your cat and ask the Lord to bless the guardian he has permitted to dwell near you. Such a gesture is small, but small gestures made with faith are never small before God. They sanctify daily life. They remind the soul that the home belongs not to disorder, but to Christ. He also encouraged keeping holy water near the place where the cat usually rests, so that the atmosphere around that place remains one of blessing and purity. To thank your cat consciously each evening for its companionship and protection was seen as a way of increasing the harmony between your own soul and the creature who serves you so quietly. Gratitude opens the heart, and a grateful heart is harder for darkness to invade. Padre Pio further suggested placing a medal of St. Francis of Assisi near the cat's sleeping area. Reciting Psalm 91 inches its presence whenever you sense spiritual unease, and allowing it to remain near you during the rosary if it freely chooses to do so. Such practices are not superstition when grounded in prayer, humility, and submission to God. They become a way of consecrating the ordinary, of acknowledging that every corner of life can be placed under divine mercy. He even recommended a prayer of blessing for the cat, asking the Heavenly Father to bless and protect this guardian placed within the home, to strengthen its mission of protection, and to make it an instrument of divine grace. There is something deeply beautiful in this. We are so often eager to ask blessings for our plans, our journeys, our possessions, and our projects. Why should we not also bless the humble creature that brings warmth, vigilance, and peace into our home? In times when the air feels heavy, when discouragement oppresses the heart, or when an indefinable unrest hangs over a room, Padre Pio advised gently stroking the cat while praying the Our Father. To purify a new place, he suggested letting the cat explore it freely while you hold a blessed candle and commend the space to God. If illness is present, he encouraged allowing the cat to remain near the afflicted area while you meditate and surrender yourself to divine providence. None of these acts are magical. All must remain under the light of faith, but they can become occasions of recollection, trust, and interior abandonment. He also observed that cats respond with particular readiness to sacred music and vocal prayer. If you pray aloud, chant, or softly sing praises to God, you may notice that your cat draws near, becomes calm, or lingers beside you. It is as if the creature recognizes the peace that descends when a home becomes a place of prayer, and perhaps this should move us to examine ourselves. If a small animal is drawn toward holy things, why do we so often drift away from them? If a creature finds rest near prayer, why do we grow restless in its presence? The cat may teach us, silently, to return to recollection. Now that you have heard these reflections on the destiny of those who live with cats, according to the teachings associated with Padre Pio, it is time to look upon your companion with renewed eyes. Your cat may not be in your life by chance. Its presence may be more than a matter of circumstance. It may be part of a hidden design of protection, consolation, and watchfulness permitted by God for your good. Such a thought should not lead to exaggeration, but to gratitude, not to fantasy, but to reverence, not to replacing prayer, but to praying more deeply. These creatures are presented here as beings capable of perceiving and confronting negative influences, and their ordinary behaviors are seen as signs of care, warning, and spiritual companionship. To have a cat in the home is then not merely to enjoy the affection of an animal, but to receive the quiet presence of a guardian whose mission often unfolds without noise. So much of God's action in the soul is like this, hidden, discreet, and easily overlooked by those who live only on the surface of things. A cat's silent companionship may itself be an image of grace, gentle, unobtrusive, but real. Today, then, may be the day to thank God for the creature that lives beside you. May be the day to stop seeing it as only ordinary. May be the day to become more attentive to the signs that heaven allows even within the simplest corners of domestic life. Look at your feline companion with greater tenderness. Notice where it rests, when it watches, when it draws near, and when it seems to stand guard. Underneath these small acts, there may be a mystery you have not yet honored enough. And if you do not have a cat, perhaps this reflection may remain with you as a sign to keep your heart open. Perhaps one day such a creature may come into your life, and when it does, you will receive it not merely as an animal, but as a possible instrument of peace and quiet guardianship. Padre Pio is said to have taught that those who welcome and protect these feline guardians not only receive a special blessing themselves, but may also become channels of protection for others. A protected home becomes a place of refuge. A peaceful soul radiates peace. Grace, when received humbly, does not remain closed in on itself. I invite you, then, to share this message with others who live with cats and who may also have seen signs they could not explain. Many have witnessed their cats acting in ways that seem too purposeful, too timely, too mysterious to reduce to instinct alone. Perhaps they too have sensed that behind the ordinary there was something more. A message such as this may help them name what they have long felt in silence. And if this reflection has touched your heart, remain close to this mission, support it, and continue walking with us through these meditations on spiritual vigilance, prayer, and the hidden mercies of God. There is much that the modern soul forgets because it lives too fast, judges too quickly, and prays too little. But when the heart becomes recollected again, it begins to recognize meaning where before it saw only routine. Always remember this final image. Your cat is not merely a pet wandering through your rooms. It may be, in the language of affection and faith, a little guardian with whiskers and a tail, a humble creature keeping watch in silence over the peace of your home and the fragility of your heart. Bless its presence. Thank God for it. Receive its companionship with tenderness. In that silent nearness there may dwell a subtle but real force of comfort, cleansing, and protection, permitted by divine goodness for your sake. May the Lord bless your home, deepen your discernment, strengthen your prayer, and grant you a heart humble enough to recognize His care even in the smallest of His creatures. And may Padre Pio, spiritual father of suffering souls and guide in the hidden combat of the interior life, intercede for you always, so that you may walk in peace, vigilance, and grace.